So let's talk about the idea of a city. And if you can see the slide, take a look at it, because I want to just point you to a couple of things. Look at those pictures. Why a city? Why does John see a city? And it's interesting because it's paradoxical to us today, because in our cities today, everyone can be divided. But in the ancient world, cities were the paragon of communal living. If you lived in a city, you were part of a community that functioned together. Why walls? Because in the ancient world, walls were symbols of safety, security, and peace. So for John to see a city coming down out of heaven, he is seeing the paragon of community coming down out of heaven, surrounded by a wall. What is a wall? A symbol of safety, security, and peace. When we think about this from our vantage point, and we just think about, oh, there's a new city coming down out of heaven. That's not what it meant to them. It meant that they're going to see, John saw all that they had hoped for. A place where the believers could be together and be together in peace. The absence of hostility, the absence of threat, the absence of trouble. Safety, security with your brethren.
That's beautiful.
It is. It really is beautiful. So I put 3 walled cities on this slide: Harar, Ethiopia; Medina, Malta; and Bam, Iran. And what do you see? What do you notice? There are walls around the city, but notice that the homes are packed together at every which angle. Right?
Yeah.
People, they're living practically on top of each other. And so for people in the ancient world, when they thought of that, they thought about people living and sharing practically on top of one another. And that was beautiful, because where did they live? In these places where, you know, if you weren't a transitional person like a shepherd or whatever who just wandered, or a Bedouin or whatever, what did you want to be? You wanted to be around other people who believed as you did, thought as you did, worshipped as you did.
Right.
It's almost idyllic. Much different than the way we understand it today. So when we read this, we got to think about it as John's hearers. And where is John writing this from? A rock in exile on an island. Probably in a cave. Probably would have wanted nothing more than to be in the midst of a community of his brethren, where there was safety, security, and peace. I'm sure the people of Sardis wanted that. Right?
It's almost like what they're describing is how people were living, how the believers were living in community together.
Mm-hmm. Look at the early part of the book of Acts. That's what it was. John was living in the midst of that before his exile.
It's like they had a little slice of that.
Right.
And the world couldn't deal with it.
Right. That's right.
This is how I want my people to live. This is how my people who worship me will live. And the world couldn't deal.
That's right. John sees this city. He understands it as a place of community, of safety, security, and peace. But let's take a look now, because we've seen a city prior to this. And the Bible's imagery is quite interesting when you think about the contrast between the two cities, right? Revelation 21:2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Compare that with Revelation chapter 17, verses 3 and 4. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and decked with colored gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. It's interesting because, and I don't know if you guys can see the slide, but I want to go through it, right? You have chapter 11, chapter 17, and chapter 18 discussing Babylon. And you have chapter 21 discussing the New Jerusalem. The gender of both of these cities is female. The societal position, Babylon is referred to as the great city. The New Jerusalem is referred to as the holy city. Now, there could be a whole lot of preaching right there on the difference between aspiring to be great and aspiring to be holy.
Yes, sir.
Look at the clothing that they're wearing. In Revelation 17, that Babylon is described as being in purple and scarlet and having jewels all over. When John first sees the New Jerusalem, before he even gets to the description, he sees white linen and God's glory. Notice the relationship status of these women. Babylon is a whore. The New Jerusalem is a bride. Think about what that meant in the ancient world. You were a whore or you were a bride. Sexuality, Babylon is promiscuous. The New Jerusalem is chaste. A bride adorned for her husband. What is the implication here? Virginity. Where does that theme also come into play? Revelation chapter 14, when we're looking at the 144,000, it says of them that they are virgins. Right? We know that that is not a discussion of 144,000 virgin Jewish men who are going to preach the gospel after the rapture and the church is gone. What we know that to be is the body of believers, both Old Covenant and New. And there's something that we're going to read in Revelation 21 that is going to make that clear about this holy city as well. Where does Babylon reign? Reigns over the kings of the earth. Where does the New Jerusalem reign? With the Lamb. And who is the Lamb? King of Kings. John's very intentional here where he paints a picture of two different cities. And we know that Babylon was not a literal city and not a literal woman. We understand that Babylon is the world system and the people who are the practitioners of it. Conversely, this New Jerusalem coming out of heaven, adorned like a bride for her husband. We get a sense here? Sure we are. It's not a literal city. Chapter 21, verses 9 to 11. Then one of the 7 angels who held the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came and spoke with me. Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. He then carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, arrayed with God's glory. Her radiance was like a very precious stone, like a jasper stone, bright as crystal. Where have we seen jasper stone before? Chapter 4. What were you saying, Steve?
I'm trying to remember. It was one of the descriptions of the materials of the city, or is that where we are now?
Chapter 4.
I heard.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Listen to what it says about it. Chapter 4, verses 1 to 3. After this I looked, and there in heaven was an open door. The first voice that I had heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, "Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this." Immediately I was in the Spirit. Does that sound familiar? Revelation 21, verse 10, he carried me then away in the Spirit. But in chapter 4, he says, I was in the Spirit, and a throne was set there in heaven. One was seated on the throne, and the one looked like jasper and carnelian stone. God looks like jasper. God, make me want to shout right now. When he sees the city says the city's radiance is like jasper. And what does he say? The city is arrayed with God's glory. Are you there yet? God clothes his bride with his own glory. He covers his bride with himself. God, such that the bride looks like.
Yes. Understand. Right.
She looks like her husband. And John wrote, look at how great a love the Father has given us, that we should be called God's children, and we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it didn't know him. And then he says, beloved, we are God's children now. And what we will be has not yet been revealed. We know that when he appears, we will be like him, because we will see him as he is.
So no longer are we really cloaked in it the way Jacob pretended to be his brother, to be accepted by his father, will in fact be clothed. Wow.
The way that we will be known and know is because we will be like him, and we will see him as he is. So when John sees the holy city coming down, clothed in God's glory, and he says the radiance of the city is like a very precious stone, like a jasper stone. And he sees this in the Spirit, just as before he had seen in the Spirit the throne of God, and God himself looked like a jasper stone. God has clothed his people in his glory. Jesus said that none that the Father gives me will I lose, and I will give them back to the Father when I raise them up on the last day. That's what he said, right? John chapter 6. Man.